Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with part one of a Leopold Stokowski retrospective. This came about because, as some of you may know, we covered a lot of Stokowski recordings in random reviews from the overflow room, but I have an overflow room. And for reasons that we don't need to go into, much of my Stokowski collection wound up in the overflow room. And so now it's here, and I want to go through it because there's some of the stuff we've talked about before, that's some of its Phase 4 recordings and whatnot, but the individual releases, which are interesting to see, to look at, how these things were originally put on CD and whatnot. But I also have a lot of historical stuff. And Stokowski was one of those conductors I collected because he was just so interesting and because he did so much repertoire that nobody else did. We need to pause for a moment and contemplate just how wonderful that was, because Stokowski is sometimes regarded as this sort of shallow showman. I mean, he was definitely a chord guy. He was interested in sonority above all else, not contrapuntal clarity or austerity of texture or anything like that. And of course, he interfered with pieces constantly. He reorchestrated and cut and rearranged and did all kinds of interesting things with them, but not contemporary music usually. When he did contemporary repertoire, he was very faithful, as often as not, to what the composer intended, at least as much as he could be. And it says something that this guy, who was enormously popular, was a household name, was Leopold of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, had a genuine popular face, a phenomenon in the world of classical music, and who was a showman, and who did make Fantasia and do all that stuff, that he devoted so much of his time and attention to promoting contemporary music. He just regarded all music as wonderful and terrific and as ripe for promotion, and he didn't make distinctions between things that were new and things that were old. It was all just one joyful noise, more or less. No, there was no conductor like him, and there really hasn't been anyone since. He was an extraordinary character. And so I'm starting with these 5 recordings from Guild, which I don't think I spoke about previously. And you just see the kind of stuff that he did, and it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. Let's just see what's on these discs. These are on Guild. Here they are. There's 5 of them. And we're going to go through them one at a time. So let's start. Well, here's a whopper of a program. You've got Ionescu's Romanian Rhapsody No. 1, Borodin's Dances of the Polovtsian Maidens, arranged by Stokowski himself, which is always lots of fun. The orchestration of Debussy's The Engulfed Cathedral, from his Preludes by Stokowski, which is a wonderful arrangement. Marion Bauer, a work called Sun Splendor, Opus 19C, the world premiere recording of that, a work by a female composer. She lived from 1882 to 1955. And Benjamin Britten's Piano Concerto, first U.S. broadcast. My goodness, it's marvelous, with Jacques Abram piano and the New York Philharmonic. And this was recorded all in 1947 and 1949. Now, obviously, these are broadcasts. The sound can be highly variable. They don't have, Stokowski's input in terms of the sonics always, but what the hell? What an amazing program. So that's the first one. The second one here, this is from 1960. So you've got better sound, and it's with the Philadelphia Orchestra. It's in stereo. Brahms' First Symphony, which he did a bunch of times. There's one on Phase 4 as well. And the Wagner arranged Stokowski symphonic synthesis from Tristan and Isolde. Love music from Acts 2 and 3. 25 solid minutes of Stokowski's inimitable Wagner, and with Philadelphia, the orchestra that catapulted him to his initial fame back in the 1910s and 20s and 30s. Really, really fabulous program. So there's that. And then we've got, this one's fun too. We've got Fikret Amirov, who's a very good composer, by the way. He's from Azerbaijan. He was another one of those guys who worked with Shostakovich and whatnot. His symphonic suite on Azerbaijan folk tunes, which is an American broadcast premiere. Stokowski actually recorded a bit of Amirov. I mean, really kind of a bit. Shostakovich First Symphony, and the Vaughan Williams Tallis Fantasia, and Robert Kirka of Good Soldier Schweik fame and fabulous Second Symphony, his symphonic epilogue on Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Now, these were performed, in 1960 and 1962 with the New York Philharmonic, recorded in Carnegie Hall. So there you go. I mean, are these stereo? These are the first commercial releases of these things. I'm trying to see if it tells us. No, it doesn't. But, what the heck? I mean, we don't care. It's historical, do we? Then, wait a minute. There's still more. We have, oh, yes, Scheherazade and Romeo and Juliet. Now, Stokowski Scheherazade, I mean, there's that Phase 4 recording, which is the best thing ever. This is also with Philadelphia, recorded live at the Academy of Music in 1962, 6 February 1962, in stereo. There was nothing like Stokowski Scheherazade. I mean, it's reorchestrated. He adds a xylophone and a tam-tam and the harps and the sensuous strings, and oh my God, it's a chord guy's delight, because there's no counterpoint in Scheherazade, not really, and you just make it as lush and voluptuous as possible and exciting. And we also have Romeo and Juliet by Tchaikovsky, which Stokowski loved to tinker with a little bit here and there, so you can enjoy that. And then last but not least, we have this is some program. Goodness gracious. I mean, it's not all the same program. These are recordings from 1943 to 1956 with everything from the NBC Symphony Orchestra, the Symphony of the Air, the WDR Symphony Orchestra of Cologne, and the St. Louis Symphony. And the program is, get this, I mean, just on this disc, obviously it wasn't all one concert. Stravinsky Symphony in C. It's an NBC Symphony live in 1943. Howard Hanson's Symphony No. 4, subtitled Requiem, with the NBC Symphony. Roy Harris's Symphony No. 7, the unrevised first version of that, with the St. Louis Symphony. Hindemith's Symphony in E-flat with the NBC Symphony. I love the Symphony in E-flat. It's a masterpiece. And this is 1943. I mean, it was brand new. I mean, just, fresh off the workbench there. Carl Amadeus Hartmann's Symphony No. 2, Adagio, with the WDR Symphony Orchestra Cologne, live in Cologne from 1955. And finally, Hovhaness Symphony No. 3, with the Symphony of the Air, live at Carnegie Hall from 1956, the world premiere. By the way, I mean, there's not another conductor alive who would have put together this kind of, I mean, again, this isn't a program, this is a different thing, but who could have programmed all of this stuff the way Stokowski did, and did it with such conviction and such verve and such, panache. That's the word. He had panache. So there you have it, my friends. Just 5 sort of random polls that I had stored separately for some reason. And oh my goodness, what a conductor. I mean, he's so much fun just to go through these things and talk about them. He really is, because he was a character like none other. Had a Naxos disc mixed in there for another video. So there you go, some Stokowski, and there will be more. This is the first in a series of things we're going to do, because I just think it's so much fun to talk about, and it'll give you things to look for and think about. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.